Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Daily Drop-In Morning Show with the Teach Better team, where we are live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. We are currently streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. A special shout out to those of you who have subscribed and rated and reviewed the Teach Better Talk podcast, which is also where you can get this amazing show that we're able to feature so many different educators on. We have a lot in store for you today, including good news stories, holidays, incredible guests, and of course, continue our theme. So we will be seeing you in just a few seconds when this video is over. Go fill up your coffee. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, April 21st. We have Maria here with us this morning. Maria, how you feeling?
I am so good. And oh my gosh, watching that video, I was like, oh, that's not too far away.
I know. Yeah. So for those of you who aren't looking at the video that we play is for the Teach Better conference, but it's a reflection on 2019. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh, so crazy. So I didn't get involved with the Teach Better team until literally, I think it was April or May of 2020 when I was home and I was like out of my mind, with boredom. And I was like, all right, I need to just research and learn. So I was not part of the team or, involved in 2019, but you better believe I'll be there in October.
Yes, well, I'm thrilled to hear that. That's a good commitment that we just got recorded. I love that. It is funny, when we did the conference in 2019, it really felt like a turning point for our team because we were doing a lot of things. There were still blogs, there were still so many different, pieces of content that we were pushing out for educators to support, that whole education ecosystem. But yeah, you're right. When COVID hit, a lot of educators started searching for essentially virtual support because we're all locked in our homes, and our network like tripled in size super quickly. So I forget that, some really core pillar people that I engage with every day now are actually people that have only been around for 2 years or so. So I didn't realize that you joined in 2020. That's awesome.
Yeah, plus I started my job as an admin in June of 2020.
Okay.
So I think I got involved with my first mastermind like right around that time. And you've got me hooked. You've got your claws into me, Rae Hughart.
I love it. No, honestly, it's so interesting because this morning, as we kind of get the show started, people reflecting on when they got involved in the Teach Better team, right? And I don't know what involvement means, right? Maybe you read a blog for the first time, maybe you tuned in for a live stream for the first time or joined Mastermind like you did. But there's so many avenues for people to get involved. And to me, you're such a core pillar of our admin mastermind. Like when you're not there, it feels strange, right? Like you're supposed to be there. That's where we get to see you. And so it's so interesting that, yeah, you came in when that whole program launched, because that program launched in June of 2020.
Oh my gosh. So it was I'm sorry I took Tuesday off. I was on spring break. I was sleeping in.
That's all right. I will tell you that we missed you very much, but I know you're on spring break. So I appreciate you taking the time for yourself.
Thanks.
So if our group here may not be familiar with you, maybe they don't choose to tune in for Admin Mastermind, or that's not the right fit for them, and they choose to participate in the family in other ways, would you mind sharing a little about yourself, kind of what you do in education?
Sure. Well, my name is Maria. My last name is hard to pronounce. It is Montroni-Currais, Currais like sunrise. And I am a born and bred Jersey girl. I live in South Jersey, kind of near Philadelphia. And I am the supervisor of curriculum and instruction in a pre-K through 8 district. So I'm a school-based district administrator, which is so awesome because daily I interact with kids. I'll have kids finishing work in my office. I'll pop in and walk through classrooms, but I also support teachers. And then I also work on the district level, planning out, district professional development, planning out benchmarks and common assessments, planning district initiatives like standards-based grading and all that good stuff. So my day is always different, and I love it. I love my job so much, which is like hard to say out loud in 2022 because people in education don't typically say they love their jobs, especially in April of 2022, but I do. I love it every minute, except for the state testing part. I could let that go. I could let that go.
We all have things about our job that aren't our first choice, right? I mean, even we were just talking before we came live. You're like, Rae, what are your work hours? I'm like, I don't know. I work every day, all day, and also sometimes not all day. Like, I'm not sure. And it's just kind of like, there's things with the job that you love and things with the job that you're like, nah, I could do without that. So, state testing, working 16-hour days, probably things that we could do without. But hey, overall, more good things than not, right?
Exactly. So that's me. I started as a French teacher and moved into English as a second language and moved into administration. And that's been my career so far. Where I'm going next, I don't know. Only time will tell. I've got ideas. I've got things that come up daily. I'm like, ooh, school law. I like that. Ooh, school public relations. I like that. So I don't know. I feel like if there was an undecided category, I would fit that. I would fit
Yeah.
that.
I think it's kind of wonderful. When I entered into the education space, I thought there was a very clear ladder that you needed to climb. And then once you got to the top, you got to the top and that was it. And then that was all there is. I think it's so wonderful now being into this field, learning from so many educators and actually truly seeing that the world of education professionally can go in a spider web of directions. There's so many different roles that you can have to support the school ecosystem. There's so many different positions that will fulfill you in some ways, and then you might change jobs to be fulfilled in other ways. I think it's so wonderful that you're actually keeping your options open, because the reality is that we both have a long way to go in our career, and why make decisions now if there's anything that we've learned over the last 3 years, it's that we don't know what the next 3 years are going to look like. So you might as well just take it for what it is and plan from there.
Absolutely. And take every day as a resume builder.
Ooh, tell me about that. Speak more to that.
When I go in, and I have this like reflection moment as I walk from my car to the building, and I always think, okay, like what am I doing today, and what part of my day will benefit my resume? And so if I followed through with that, my resume would be pages and pages long, but I don't. I catalog things in terms of career experiences. And I think, oh my gosh, last week I sat in my very first arbitration hearing. And I said, oh my God, I didn't know. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know how legal it was. I didn't know there was like a judge and evidence and exhibits and objections. That's a resume experience. That's interview fodder right there. So every day there is something that can become an anecdote for an interview, or a point on the resume, or a piece in a cover letter. And that's truly how I approach every single day.
Well, and I appreciate that we can note that these experiences don't necessarily lead to a bullet point on a white sheet of paper on your resume, but can be things that you pull from in an interview, or things you pull from to craft that perfect cover letter. So as you kind of build this experience, I really love that perspective. We are going to get into later with our brainstorming, talking about routines and how to refresh our routines. I think this is such a wonderful way to kind of kick off eventually that conversation we're going to have here in a little bit, to say, how are you gaining that perspective every single day to consider what's a resume builder? I wonder if that would change some of the lenses we look through as we go into our day.
For me, it does. It does daily. And even throughout the day, I reflect and think, all right, what's gone on so far? What are the things I want? It's almost like building a core memory book, and then pulling those memories, having access to them when you need them.
Well, and it applies for both negative circumstances that enter into our world and both positive circumstances that enter into our world. When you're sitting at your desk and something kind of slaps you in the face, and it's negative and it's challenging and it's tricky, and you're like, ugh, I wish I didn't have to go through this. it actually can be turned into a positive to say, oh, well, actually, this is a resume builder, right? This is going to be a first time experience. I'm going to be able to talk about my perseverance. I'm going to have a better story to pull from, and everything else. On the flip side, when you get that wonderful, great thing that happens in your day that you can celebrate, that others celebrate along with you, it's, again, a resume builder. I mean, this is really a different perspective. I love this concept of essentially being a learner and then being able to be better in the future for it. I like that.
Yep. And then we can even take it a step further. And the way I approach those situations, those are like job interviews. The face I put on I'm going to be me no matter what the situation is.
Sure.
How I present myself handling the situation is what will prove to both me and an employer, whether it's my current superintendent or a future superintendent or CEO, that this is how I handle problems. And, I've got a track record to prove it.
Yeah. No, I really like this. I wonder how many of you will choose to take on that challenge. So let us know in the comments, or feel free to tweet at us or share on social media. Marie and I would love to hear if you are taking on the little challenge for the day to maybe shift your perspective as you enter into the school building today, or make sure that you're constantly thinking through, how is this actually going to serve me well in the future, whether it be a positive or very challenging circumstance. I love kicking it off that way, Maria. We are going to document a moment of gratitude before we get too far into the show. Here on the Daily Drop-In, we use a free app called Happy Feed, which was a recommendation from a guest a few weeks ago, that we document a moment of gratitude every single morning. And while I always have loved this practice, I really love it because this app allows us to revisit those moments of gratitude in a few different creative ways, which here on the Teach Better team, we not only love and appreciate, but we also intend to utilize in a variety of different ways. So if you're going to be at the Teach Better conference, keep an eye out for how these moments of gratitude are going to be posted in a variety of places. Maria, as we get started this morning, bright and early, you're on spring break. Can you share with us something that you are grateful for?
Sure. I am super, super grateful for Kindle Unlimited, because all of the books I want to read are on hold at the library. I'm on the wait list for them. So while I am waiting for, not a good book, because books, I'm not going to rate books, but while I'm waiting for the book I'm supposed to read, I can read whatever it is I want to read. Yes. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Can you share something that you are either eager to read or currently reading? I know here on the Daily Drop-In, we're always looking for good book recommendations.
Well, so my little guilty secret is I very, very rarely read professional books. And if I do, I'm coerced into reading them. So don't tell anyone, but I didn't read in college.
I get you.
I just don't have that mentality. Give me an abstract, give me the ending chapter summary, and I'm good. So professional books, I don't love. I am right now reading a book by Rich Sis, and it is called Rogue PD. And that's good because I'm in a book club for it. So I'm kind of forced to read along the way. But I'm a fiction girl. I'm historical fiction all the way. So I've pretty much read every historical fiction author there is to read.
I love that. Okay, so we all have our different genres we love to consume. I think that's a great recommendation this morning. I appreciate it. We're going to transition here really quick into our good news for the day as we're getting started. We definitely want to jump into all of our topics. Good morning, everyone. We are kicking off some great conversation this morning here on the Daily Drop-In with Maria. We already have people commenting, Maria, on the book recommendations, not only empathizing with your approach to what you enjoy reading, but also have many, many book recommendations. So if you are participating live with us in the comments, we really appreciate you. Keep sending your messages in. And then, of course, if you too want to read and engage with those messages, you can find this live stream over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or LinkedIn. If you're listening after the fact on Teach Better Talk podcast. Don't forget, we also really appreciate when you share out your thoughts as well. So please challenge yourself to do that every so often because we really appreciate engaging with you. Maria, here on the Daily Drop-In, we love to highlight some good news, some holidays, kind of everything in between to kick off the day. Are you up for a little celebrating?
Always.
Always. Well, today has some very special holidays that I have a feeling we'll be able to celebrate in abundance. The first one, and I've never heard of this holiday before, but I think this is going to be a new staple. Even though I don't have a personal connection to this holiday, I think it will be something I'll enjoy. It is the official day of Bulldogs Are Beautiful.
Aww.
Bulldogs Are Beautiful Day. Why
I
not,
like
right?
that. Yeah. I mean, I think all dogs are beautiful, but bulldogs can have their day.
I think they get a day. Why not? And I'm gonna tell you, there is a cute, very beautiful photo example here on the website that we read this off of. So I think bulldogs are beautiful, and I'm all about celebrating them today. It's also chocolate covered cashew day. Are you a chocolate covered cashew kind of person?
I'm not a cashew person.
Okay.
I feel like though if it's chocolate covered, I might be, but no, I'm gonna leave that celebration for someone else.
If you had to choose, what would you cover in chocolate? Like
you know,
a
it's
raisin?
so good covered in chocolate is pineapple.
Pineapple covered in chocolate? I did not think it was gonna go that way. Okay. Okay.
It's very, very good. I had it for the first time in like an editable arrangement, and
Oh.
I was like, oh my gosh, why isn't this like mainstream? Why cannot I go to the ShopRite and get chocolate covered pineapple?
Yeah, so you're talking about like fresh pineapple. I see that. That makes sense to me.
Were you thinking dried pineapple?
Yeah, I don't know that I like dried pineapple. It doesn't have the same spark. You know what I mean?
My very, very favorite snack is dried mango.
Oh, I love mangoes. Mangoes, I think, is something that everyone should have every day. I have two in my kitchen right now. I love mango.
I can't with the fresh mango, just like avocado, because I can't get it. I cannot. That is not a resume builder. I cannot get it right.
And cutting it is really tricky. You have to really be strategic and be willing to make a mess everywhere to do it. That's really what it is.
Yeah. So I'll pay the extra few dollars and take that privilege of having them come in the slices in the store.
I totally support you. And I think mangoes are a wonderful thing to incorporate in your day, regardless of how you're choosing to incorporate them. Really good. It's also National High Five Day. High fives. I mean, I feel like if you're headed into school today, that could be a fun holiday to celebrate, but even just around the house, lots of high fives. I like that. A few other holidays to note: it is National Kindergarten Day. It's National Tea Day. And it is also just an opportunity for us to eat really good food, because I just have a feeling that today, Thursday, eat something special today. Put something wonderful in your day that you're enjoying.
Wait, it's National Kindergarten Day?
It is National Kindergarten Day.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I didn't know there was a thing. And if I were in school this week, I'd make a huge deal about that.
Well, it sounds like, because we didn't know it was today, you can just move it to next week and no one will tell. We won't know.
Absolutely. That's like when your kids are really little and you just like move the date of Christmas or their birthdays to coincidentally fall on a weekend, because they're not going to know.
Right, exactly. They won't have any idea. I like that. So if you need to celebrate National Kindergarten Day on a different day, we here at the Teach Better Team Daily Drop-In Morning Show will give you permission to do that.
We support you.
We support you. We won't tell. I promise. No spoilers here, even though I feel like I'm the queen of just releasing information when I shouldn't. But oh well. As a good news article today, I just thought this was the weirdest article. I more often than not find our good news stories either late in the evening or early in the morning prior to the show. And while there was a lot of good news out there for us to celebrate and bring to the Daily Drop-In, I just couldn't get past this one. So I'm sorry, Maria, we're about to have the weirdest good news article maybe of all time. Are you ready?
I'm here for it.
Okay, so here's the deal. Are you a Taylor Swift fan at all?
I like the songs, but I don't like follow her as a celebrity.
Okay. So there are, for many of you that may not know, and I will say many, I mean like for the 2 people in the world that don't know, Taylor Swift has very, very loyal fans. They're called Swifties. They're They're very they're in the abundance, and they all are big Taylor Swift fans. I don't know that I think I'm like you. I don't know that I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, but I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I think
Right.
she's
Like you also can't not sing along. So I feel like
right.
that it's just part of growing up American.
Yes, I agree. Like catchy tunes. I think she's a gorgeous woman. I
Mhm.
love that she's an advocate for so much. Keep living her best life, Taylor Swift. Well, there are very loyal fans, one of which is a incredible scientist. It says here that a new millipede species has officially been named after Taylor Swift because the scientist that discovered the species says that she is a big Swiftie. So as you go through the article, it kind of goes through how Taylor Swift, the US singer-songwriter, is known for many of her incredible songs like Shake It Off or You Belong to Me. And they have given her another nod because a new species for a millipede is now named in her honor. I truly cannot even pronounce how they went in naming this millipede, but the last part of the name, the scientific name, is Swiftie, which joins the 16 other species described in this millipede family. So, for those of you that have ever walked into your garage or been on the sidewalk and seen, I think, a disgusting millipede, although, they can live their best lives too. Apparently, now many of them are Taylor Swift fans. So, what an interesting good news article. Kind of interesting.
I just want to know, like, can somebody please find her and ask her, does she consider this an honor?
I think she would. She's like very eager to and appreciative of her fans. I know she's a big cat person, but millipede, I don't know that translates. I don't know.
Right. Like, I get it. I get it. You found something, you want to name it after your favorite person, but a millipede. I mean, I guess it contributes to the ecosystem.
Yeah, it does.
So
Sure.
I don't know. I get it, but I have questions about it.
Okay, I want to know in the comments as we're thinking through this, what would be named after you that you wouldn't really like? Like maybe you wouldn't be upset about it, maybe you wouldn't fight to get it changed, but if somebody named this after you, you'd be upset or you'd be disappointed. What do you think your answer would be as our friends in the comments start thinking? Like,
Oh my gosh.
because really anything could be named after somebody, right? An invention, an animal.
So, I mean, little fun story is my other fallback job in case this education thing doesn't pan out is I really want to be the person who names the paint colors.
Oh, yes. For a oh my gosh, I love, first of all, painting, but then I also love reading all the names of the
Yes,
paint colors.
that's how I choose my nail polish color. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It has to have a good name.
Okay, that is commitment right there. I will tell you, I have like a ballet slipper like on my nails right now, which is relatively nude. But are you saying that you're willing to go with a crazy color based on the name?
If it's a really good name, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm typically like a very like traditional coral and red and plum type of nail color, but like my favorite nail polish color name is I mainly eat lobster. And it's a wonderful name. And it's like this bright red lobstery red and it's perfect. And my favorite other purple is Bahama Mama just because it's like fun to say.
Maria, this is why I always love chatting with you because these ridiculous nuances, we just have these things in common. I just love this about you.
I mean, I feel like you wouldn't like if somebody named like a gorgeous pink color garbage pail.
Oh,
Would like does that change your perception of the color? So I'm like thinking about that in terms of the millipede. You've
yeah.
named this millipede Taylor Swift, a pede, whatever it is.
Right.
Does it change the public's perception of a millipede? Because it doesn't change my perception. I'm still
Really?
going to scream and run away. Give me anything. I tell all the people in my office, I'll do a snake. I'll do a bat. I'll do a wild turkey. I've done those. I've chased them off the property. But I will not do a centipede or a millipede. I will not.
I have to tell you, I think I'm the opposite, and I love Erin's here saying her dream job would be to make up the names of the nail polish colors. So I like this. We appreciate you, Erin. We need you doing that work because there's never enough nail polish colors. But I kind of think I'm the opposite. I think that if you name something that in a way that gives me a less scary first thought, I might like it more. Maybe I'm a fan of the Swifty millipede. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going to go be best friends with a millipede. I'm not bringing one into my home, but do I hate it like a smidgen less? Yes. Am I willing to touch it, be near it, or want to be around it? Absolutely not. No.
So truly, and this is like a philosophical thing. I think people should probably study this. You, in just like 6 minutes, your perception had changed that much with just the changing of the name.
Mm-hmm. I think a good nail polish name actually changes the
for sure
the color too. So
for sure, because like I mainly eat lobster. It's just a standard average like pinky coral red, but because it's called I mainly eat lobster, of course I'm gonna wear it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I am excited for everyone to be named after something ridiculous, but congratulations to Taylor Swift, who is just named for a millipede species, which, just to clarify, but congratulations to them. Really good. We're going to be right back here to get into our brainstorm bank, but if you are still thinking about what you would prefer to not be named for, please let us know in the comments when we get back. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for popping into the Daily Drop-In Morning Show. We're going to continue here to get into our brainstorm bank. And as many of you know who've tuned into the show before, our brainstorm bank is a segment that we love to do every single day to ensure that every single moment has an intentional opportunity to ask you, hey, friends, do you need anything? We know that we are constantly brainstorming as educators, whether it be something to better support our staff or something to better support our students, and you do not need to brainstorm alone. So at any point in time, feel free to throw your questions or your topics in the chat. We would love to brainstorm alongside you. Maria and I definitely don't think that we have all the perfect answers, but we'd love to be a part of the solution of directing you in the right direction or thinking through an idea differently. So if you are considering or problem solving through anything this morning, please feel free to engage with the show in that way. Maria, we do have a theme this week, which we've kind of noted on earlier in the show about refreshing our routines. And one thing that you brought up earlier was really walking into our day, thinking through how every moment could kind of work towards being a resume builder. Is that maybe an important routine that you find is really impactful for you? Or are there other routines that you feel like really help you be successful throughout your day?
That mentality has helped me so much, and I'll never forget the first time I realized it. It was during a lesson when I was teaching ESL that was bombing. It was failing, and I gave the kids like busy work for a second so I could regroup and think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I said and the thought popped into my head, what would I do if I were being observed right now? And I was like, oh, okay, I can work with that because I can work well with improvisation. And side note, I think every teacher should be able to improv. I feel like that's a mandatory job requirement. But
Tell
anyway,
us a little bit about how you're defining improv as we're reflecting, like, ooh, can we do that?
Improv is like taking a situation and coming up with a new, fresh take on it, a way to engage your audience just based on some random thing that you pulled out of a hat. If you pulled out of the hat and said, pretend you've just knocked over all of the oranges on the shelf at ShopRite, like what would you do? That's a problem. And improv is, how am I going to solve that problem and make the audience laugh? And I'm decently good at that. So I had that skill set going in, and I remember thinking, I have this classroom full of kids in front of me. My lesson is bombing. Pretend I'm being observed. What would I do? And for some people, I have a feeling that would knock them on the floor, but it helps me. And then from that day, I went in the next day to class and thought, okay, pretend I'm being observed.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of, like, I don't know if you would call that extrinsic motivation or intrinsic motivation or some combination of both, has has been what's propelled me every day. Pretend I'm being observed. Look at everything as a job interview. I'm treating this daily drop-in as a job interview. When I submit my resume to my next position, I'll link this because I know that the way I'm presenting myself, whether it's in a classroom, in a meeting, in a podcast interview, is me, and it's the best reflection of me. So it is it's, I wouldn't call it a routine because at this point it's not, it's just ingrained in me. But the way I started was by a routine. I took a deep breath and said, okay, pretend I'm being observed today.
Mm-hmm.
Put my best foot forward.
I really find it interesting, this approach that you've shared numerous times this morning of really trying to reframe what's in front of you. That's what I keep hearing over and over is how can you ensure that you're giving your best? How can you ensure that the audience you're serving is receiving your best? And the way in which you do that is a little bit of a playful mentality that you kind of keep within yourself to say, I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a game, or I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a situation that it's not, that I find enticing. So when you keep relating it to a job interview, I can only assume that that's enticing for you because it excites you to have new challenges in your world. It excites you to think about growing in your profession and in the field. So that mentality kind of gets you going, thinking through what the excitement of the day could bring. Whereas for other educators, if there's like a minor adjustment they might put there, maybe they're sparked by other things. I love this little game mentality of thinking, how can I make the situation as enticing for me as possible to be my best as consistently as possible? I think that's a really wonderful lens to look through.
Thank you. It's definitely how I approached teaching in general. So a slight backstory is I never wanted to be a teacher, but I always wanted to be an administrator.
Oh,
I
interesting.
grew up in a home with my father, who was an administrator, and my mom, who was a teacher. And so I watched all the things that my dad did. And I said, that's what I want to do. But I also knew you don't just show up on day one. So I knew that I had to I don't want to use the phrase get through, but I knew that teaching was not my life career. I'm not a lifer.
Yeah.
Was not a lifer. So I said, okay, how am I going to make the best of this? How am I going to do this so that I get my years in so that I can then become the person who helps people like me who love teaching but who know it's not the end all final solution for them. How am I going to help people like me? So another thing I used to say is, if I'm bored, the kids are bored. And I keep that mentality every day. If I'm bored in a meeting, my staff is bored in a meeting. And I'm not going to do that to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think approaching it with that playfulness and taking things and going back to that improv. I always used to say I'm the master of winging it. Lesson plan failed, forgot to write a lesson plan, no problem. We'll figure something out, because if you give me a koosh ball or you give me a whiteboard and a marker, I'm going to make something amazing out of it.
I do have to ask this. I know you'll answer it honestly, which is why I really appreciate any conversation we're able to have, whether it be on the Daily Drop-In Morning Show, in Mastermind, or anywhere else. But I think there's a lot of educators that would hear the phrase that you just shared, that you're not a lifer, you wanted to be an administrator, you didn't expect to be in the classroom your entire career in education. And there's a moment where some educators might feel guilt, like oh, that's not what you're supposed to feel, that's not what you're supposed to want. And I don't know where this social norm came in, where wanting to be an administrator right off the bat actually has any sort of negative connotation. I think it's actually such a wonderful celebration, get the right people in the right position so that everybody can function effectively. But what are your moments of insight for an educator that might be feeling guilty that they either want to transition into something else outside of the classroom, or maybe just are unsure to think through if being in the classroom full time for the rest of their life or rest of their career is what they're looking for?
So many thoughts. I'm trying to figure out like the first best thing to say because I
I
can say
know.
so many things. I think the first thing I would say is, would you advocate for a child who feels stuck to stick with the thing that makes them feel stuck? And if it's a temporary challenge that they have to cross in order to get to the next hurdle, you're going to encourage that child along the way. And that's how I see my job. But kids, teachers, administrators, we're all on some undetermined path.
Sure.
And if you're feeling like teaching isn't right for you anymore, or might not be right for you in the future, that's okay. I mean, I think about my husband who's bounced, a few times through corporate jobs. And he's constantly thinking, okay, I have maybe like another 2 years on this project until I've got to start finding something else that challenges me. And that mentality from the corporate side of things is not something you hear in teaching, because in teaching, you're either going to be third grade or fifth grade or high school history for the next 25 years. But it doesn't have to be that way. And it's okay to change. I mean, look at me. I went from French to ESL to administration, and I'm not stopping. You don't have to be a lifer. So I'm giving you permission to not be a lifer.
I love it. I think this mentality does apply even to educators that want to change grade levels or change buildings. There's a number of educators I've met with this week alone that wanted feedback on their resume because they're applying for a job in a different community or a different location in the world. And they're still continuing in the classroom. They love that mentality, but there is internal guilt, I find, in a lot of the conversations I'm having. And if this doesn't apply to you and you're like, Rae, I don't feel guilty about changing, then good for you. That's what we want. But I will say there seems to be this underlying guilt when educators want a change and seek a change. Whereas you're right, in the corporate mainstream space, it is more common, I think, than not. So just a reflection this morning as we all kind of get ready for the incredible day we have before us, thinking through, okay, how is this going to serve me in some way? I love the mentality you brought up at the beginning of the show about a resume builder, but then also, why and how can I not feel guilty choosing to change from what I'm currently doing and eventually seeking something different, right?
You know what I was just thinking? I feel like guilt is an easier forward-facing emotion than fear.
Oh, tell me more about that.
I was just thinking about, so we've got several changes, grade level changes coming up in my building. And a lot of people are scared because they've never done that grade level before. They've never taught that content area before. So, but it's almost, fear is not an easy thing to show because it's not easy to be vulnerable.
Sure.
So I think what's easier and more socially acceptable is to show guilt. Oh, I don't want to miss my kids. And I've done all of these things, and we always have the third grade carnival, or you take that guilt, that stuff that you feel like you have to hold on to, and you push that forward instead of I don't know if I can hack in 7th grade. I just don't know. And I think that happens with a lot of changes, is that you take that fear and the fear of the change and the fear of being vulnerable. And you put it in the back and you let the guilt come forward.
It's a really interesting mentality. As we continue to think through kind of how the circumstances in front of us make us feel or how we react, I would love to hear from from everyone, or even just if you're unwilling to share, just think through kind of how you can continue to ensure that you are serving yourself in the best way possible, because when we're able to serve ourselves, we're able to better serve others. So whether it be guilt or fear or anything else in your way, I think one element that you've really emphasized today, Maria, is the importance of doing work that we enjoy more often than not, right? More positives about the job than negatives. It's really
Absolutely. Yeah, there are always going to be hurdles. My hurdle right now is state testing. It's been a hurdle since January 3rd.
Oh, you told me we could not talk about that on the show. How dare you?
That was off limits, right? How many nightmares? So people have the nightmares, the classroom nightmares where like the kids are out of control. And I have the state testing nightmares where like this testing tickets like walk away, and I'm so but that is a hurdle. And it's and going back to that mentality of this is my time to shine over this challenge.
Yeah.
Like this is my time to say, oh, you're going to give that to me? No problem. And I'm going to handle it with grace and poise and composure.
Yeah.
And a little bit of humor, because that's what I do.
Well, sure. It's more fun that way. So as you are thinking through, I know we're going to wrap up this section of our conversation. Do you have something that you want to leave our community with this morning? Kind of like a soapbox topic, a moment to say, if you gain nothing else from this conversation, I'd really value you taking away this one thought or this one challenge or this one perspective.
I think the thing I'd like to say, and to as broad an audience as I could, is stay curious.
Ooh.
And actively seek out multiple perspectives. Because if with just one perspective, and maybe it's just your own perspective of the community in which you teach, or the job that you have, you're siloed. But staying curious and engaging with multiple perspectives about the community you serve or the job you have will allow you to get a bigger worldview. And it is immeasurable how amazing a bigger worldview can be for your mental health, for your perspective, and for your future.
I really, really value and appreciate that reminder. That's so good to kind of wrap up our conversation here, Maria. It's been so fun just talking shop, having you here. You always have great insight to share. Would you mind reminding our community how they can stay in contact with you, whether it be following you on social media or anything in between?
Sure, of course. So on Twitter, I am at Mrs. MCEDU. And on Instagram, I am Everyone Deserves to Learn, which is also my website, www.everyonedeservestolearn.com. Started as ESL, has switched to administration.
Love it. So good. Maria, I really appreciate you, the work you do, and always your openness to speak to others. So if anyone's interested in reaching out to Maria, I would really encourage you to. Maria is constantly open for a conversation at any moment in time. So definitely reach out to her and choose to add her to your PLN if you have not done so already. If you want to engage with Maria more frequently, she obviously is a very active member in our mastermind community. You can learn more about that at teachbetter.com/mastermind. And speaking of mastermind, Maria, before we end our show today, we have to give a very, very, very special celebration to the one and only Brad Hughes. Brad Hughes, as all of you know, is on the show every single Friday, and he just had his first course launch in our Teach Better Academy. This is an incredible course that actually goes through reminders of how to end the year strong. And it's not only from a teacher's perspective, but actually from an administrative perspective. What are the 4 key pillars of how we choose to end the year strong? We know so many of us have anywhere from 6 weeks left to 15 weeks left in the school year. We want to make sure that it's as intentional as possible. So this really quick course kind of walks you through these pillars, some great reminders of what we can choose to do at the end of the year to make it really impactful. And Brad Hughes did a wonderful job not only preparing, but curating and producing this incredible course in the Academy. So please go check that out over at teachbetteracademy.com and let us know if you have any questions. Maria,
Yeah,
go
if you
ahead.
haven't heard Brad Hughes do a Mickey Mouse impression, I hope that's a part of the course.
Oh, I would love it. He has the best voice, whether he's doing a voice of a character or even himself. I
Yeah.
love listening to Brad Hughes. So good for everyone here. We hope you have an incredible Thursday. Maria, thank you again so much for waking up on your spring break to talk shop with us. And of course,
Anytime.
yeah, if any of you need anything, we will be live later this afternoon with the one and only Kevin Butler joining the show this afternoon to be able to highlight him as a featured speaker on the Teach Better conference. So we will see you later this afternoon. But Maria, I hope you have a wonderful day off of spring break.
Thanks. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, friends.